Happy Real Shit Friday, guys. Really, I'm recording this on Saturday. Yesterday I had a long day. I had to go grocery shopping. Had to do a whole lot of other shit. But I'm here, I'm queer, and I'm not going no motherfucking where. Unfortunately, my co-host, Coco, I miss you, Coco, come back. Come back to me, Coco. She's not here today. She's doing a wedding, being a boss bitch like she is. So, this will be my very first podcast by myself. Can I do it? I think so. But I have the help of my Instagram. I've had some questions asked. And I want to let you guys know a little bit about me. So I'm just going to talk about myself today. I feel like that's something that I can do, you know? So how was everyone's week? Did you do well this week? Did you get the goals that you wanted to get done this week? I'm turning 26 tomorrow. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear Karlos. Happy birthday to me. So this year, 26, I'm feeling a lot older. I've gotten a lot accomplished this year. Let's see what else. This year has been rough. It's been rough. I've had several fucking court cases I've had to deal with. I've had fucking death in my family. I've had funerals. I've had fucking just everything. But with everything that's negative that has happened, there's a lot of positives that have happened. I've had more than enough viral videos than I've ever imagined that I could ever have. Cut.com has been an amazing family to me. I've made new friends. I've readjusted with old friends. It's just been a year of learning. It's been a year of triumph, and it's been a year of tribulation. So, I'm gonna give myself a motherfucking cheers to making it through this fucking year, because this was a hard fucking year, and I did it, and I'm happy that I did it. So we're going to start with a couple questions. The first question is, I have a couple people on my live, and yesterday someone asked me actually on my live, they wanted me to talk about my adoption. You guys know me as the adult Karlos, but there's a whole nother Karlos that you guys don't know about. And I partially have done that because I am writing a book and it will be out. My goal was to actually have it out by July. And if you've ever written a book, you know that shit does not work the way you want it to work, because, you have editing. I still have to finish the fucking book. I have to get it edited, and then I have to get it published. So that didn't work out the way I wanted it. But I am going to work on it, and I do have a finish date for the beginning of September, October. So in October. So I will be finishing the book in October. So stay ahead, and you will get way more details. But I do kind of want to share with you guys today just who is Karlos Dillard. So Karlos Dillard was actually born in 1992, July 15th, as Karlos Ramirez Hearst. My father was, I believe he was 18. I'm not sure how. I believe he was 18. My mother was 24, and I was born in Detroit, Michigan. I'm the youngest of 4 kids. I have one older sister who is now deceased, and I have 2 older brothers, Alex and Timothy. And you guys have actually met Timothy. He goes by the name of Untamed. He's the rapper that I had on the show a couple months ago. So if you've been listening for a little bit, you've definitely met my brother. Let's see. What about my life do you guys need to know about? Let's see. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan for my first 1 or 2 years. And after growing up in Detroit, Michigan, my parents moved to not Allegan. They moved to Muskegon, Michigan, where I got majority of my upbringing is in Muskegon, Michigan. There I would my family was Bebe's kids. We were ratchet as fuck. We were bad as fuck. My mom was a drug dealer, our house was it was a trap house. It was, and I love my mom, but damn, growing up, I just could tell you guys so many stories. I could tell you so many stories of us fighting, of us fucking robbing people. I was like 5 and 6 years old robbing people. I lived a very different lifestyle than I do today. And that's just, I don't want to go into a lot of details because like I said, I'm going to give you guys all of those anecdotes and all of those stories in my book that I want you to purchase because I'm stingy like that. I'm not selling my life story for free. It's a good ass life story. But yeah, I grew up in Muskegon, Michigan. Let's see what else. I happen to have a, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, I happen to have a lot of influential people in my life through foster care. And that's something that I'm going to talk about a little bit later. So other things, let's see. What else about me? What else about me? Let's see here. So we can talk about foster care a little bit. When I was 7 years old, after living through baby childs, after living through being a baby child, I literally went through foster care for 7, almost, what's it? Let's see, I was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I went through foster care for 4 years. And after the 4 years, we can talk about what happened in foster care. I was in 36 different foster homes. And it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. Like I said, and we're living with my birth mom. Yeah, we lived in a trap house. Yeah, we were drug dealers, but there was still love there. And that's one thing that I want people to remember. Like, no matter what your parents did or no matter what mistakes that they made, my mom still loved me. And she did her best and she did what she could do at the time to provide for us. So, but with that being said, there were things that happened which made us be taken away and put into the system. But I have to say that the system is way worse than actual being with my mother. Like, I was physically abused in the system. I was physically abused in the system. I was mentally abused in the system. I was sexually abused in the system. And I was abused way more in the foster system than I was with my mother. And that happens to a lot of children. And a majority of the time, like, you're really better off with your biological parents than you were in the system. And that's just kind of like my story. It really hurts my heart. But on the same token, who knows if I didn't go through the system, if I would be the same person I am today. I'm actually, so the guys listening to the podcast live, I'm actually on my Instagram live as well. And some dude keeps asking about where's my husband. My husband is at work. And he's like, why is he in your videos? Because he has his own social media. And we will actually be starting a podcast of our own in September. So if you're so interested in my marriage, you should listen to our podcast. So getting back to what I was saying. So quick side note, guys. Sorry, when I'm by myself, my mind works 100 miles a minute. So just try to stay with me. Christopher and I will be coming up with a podcast called Keeping Up with Chris and Karlos. It's going to be through Savage Media Radio. Most likely on a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. No, Monday or Tuesday, because we already have a Wednesday show. Maybe even Thursday. Whatever day that we don't have a show. I've been in discussion with Coco and other people on the Savage Media Radio, and I want to do a podcast with my husband. Just kind of like tell you guys about our lives, and we're going to talk about Black culture. And we're just going to talk about everything. And it's going to be called the KKK Podcast, Kicking It with Chris and Karlos. Both of our names are with the K. So stop asking me about my husband. Stop it. I'm not answering any questions. I'm not telling you any info. Stop asking. You will get it when the podcast comes out. So, moving on. Foster care. Foster care was fucking horrendous. Like, I remember I had this one foster parent who was a voodoo witch, and she put a hex on me, and her name was Miss Bixie, and she was fucking crazy, and it was just absolutely fucking insane. But, you know, I learned some things from her. Like, I learned how to really become a person that didn't need adults to help them out. So after foster care, I was 10 years old. I was adopted. And the reason why I'm skimming, guys, because like I said, I want you to go read my book. So I'm not going to give you all the stories, but there are some good ass stories. So after foster care, I was I was adopted by white folks, which is why I actually think it's super hilarious that people think that I hate white people. I don't. My adopted parents are white. My grandparents are white. My cousins are white. I was the only black person in my fucking school from like 5th grade to about 11th grade. So I've had to be around white people my whole childhood. So I do not dislike white people. I understand some shit that they pull because I live with y'all. So I understand it, and I have the sight of being black and being white pretty much. Let's see. I have a question coming from my Instagram. This is from H Mayor 99. They says, do you go through the background checks to become a foster parent? You do have to go through background checks, but they're not very good background checks. It's just like, it's the same background check that you would have to do to become like an Uber driver. They just make sure you're not a felon pretty much, and that you have an appropriate house for a child. But that's not, they need to do a better job at filtering people to become foster parents. We have a couple other questions on Instagram. Let's see. How many homes did you live in? I lived in 36 different foster homes in a 4-year time span, which is a lot of homes for a child to be living in. And then the gag is, so I got adopted, right? And I got adopted by very wealthy white people. And you would think that that would be like every foster child's dream. And that was my dream. I was like, I just want to be taken care of, and I want to go travel the world. And that's exactly what my adopted parents did. But they were crazy as fuck. Like, crazy as fuck, like locking me in basements, crazy. My mom had me into this therapy. It's actually outlawed now in the country. It's outlawed, but the therapy was called reattachment therapy. And what it was, I was at this point like 11 or 12 years old, and they would break you down. So they would pretty much like wrap me up in blankets, right? And then my mom and my dad, or my adoptive mom and my adoptive dad, would sit down, like get on top of me, and then they would wrap me in these blankets, and then my therapist would be like, oh, your real mom didn't want you, your real dad didn't want you, these people wanted you. And like the part of that was supposed to get you angry, to get all your anger out, and then they would birth you, which is like unwrapping you out of these blankets, and then they made me try to suck my mom's fucking titty. Because my mom she had just had a baby, so my mom was lactating. My adoptive mom was lactating at the time. And to try to make me get reattached or attached to her, they thought that she should birth me and treat me like I was her baby. I'm a 12-year-old fucking child. I should not be sucking on anyone's titties, which is why I think I have a large dislike for titties today. No offense, women, titties are disgusting. They're nasty as fuck. But now that you know the backstory of what happened to me when I was 11 years old, you would probably understand why I hate titties too. So, yeah, they like, this therapy has been outlawed because children have died. Children have gone crazy. I almost died once because I was telling them I couldn't breathe because they had wrapped me up so tight in these blankets, and they were laying on top of my chest, and I could not breathe. And I was like, I can't breathe. And they're like, this is part of the therapy. Bitch, that's not part of the therapy. That's called, like you said, that's called torture and assault. Like, that's not therapy. So I think that therapy fucked up my adoption, because I never really trusted my adoptive parents. I never really got attached to them. I distrusted them a lot. And then to make it worse, my mom ended up having 3 kids total of herself, by her own naturally. And she would tell me literally, I have my own kids. I don't need you anymore. And then after that, they would send me off to boarding schools. They would send me off to boys camps. I lived in Wyoming at a dude ranch for like 2 years. And yeah, I did pick up skills, and I did pick up, like, I love the ranch that I went to was called Mount Carmel Youth Ranch, which actually has also been shut down because they did some illegal shit. But we'll talk about that in another podcast. But they just didn't want me anymore. And that's something that I've always struggled with my entire life, is not being wanted. And I think that's why a lot of people always ask me why. Real quick, we have a Silver Fox from my Instagram feed. She says, where's the last family located? My adopted family, they still live in Kissimmee, Florida. So if y'all know them, their name is Gum. You can go fucking beat them up. No, don't beat them up. But yeah, my mom's a teacher, and my dad's works at an airport or something. I don't know. I haven't spoke to them in a couple years. But yeah, it was absolutely fucking insane. It was insane what they did. It was absolutely horrendous what they did. And let's see. Okay, so I got adopted. I was going through all this horrible shit. When I was 14, I was still at that ranch in Wyoming. And the ranch was actually kind of cool. I learned how to cattle ranch. I learned how to horseback ride. I learned how to fucking birth cattle. I learned how to build a corral. I learned how to grow my own food. I learned how to build a house, like run electricity. Like I literally learned a lot. I'm actually happy because a lot of the skills that I've learned in Mount Carmel Youth Ranch, I'm bringing into my life today, and I do use in my life today. Like everyone's saying, they're like, you're so mature, and I'm like, yes, because I had to become an adult at super young. So I got back from Mount Carmel Youth Ranch when I was 15 years old. My parents, I was gone for 19 months, so a little under 2 years. When I got back, my parents had another child that they didn't even let me know about. So I could talk to them on the phone and we could send letters. Yeah, literally, I learned how to be a cowboy. Exactly, I learned how to be a cowboy. So when I got back home, I flew back to Michigan, and my parents were like, "Oh, we're moving to Florida because your brother, my one brother who I knew about, he was having seizures, and he needed to go to this special school, and the school was only located in Florida." So just imagine being gone away from home for 2 years, and then as soon as you get back, they're ripping you up from anything that you've ever known about, like anything that's ever normal to you, and they're just ripping you up and just bringing you to this fucking eternal fucking hell and damnation of Florida, because it's too, I grew up in Michigan. I did not grow up in the South. It was too fucking hot down there for me. So we got to Florida, and shit just went from bad to worse. So I was 15 at this time. I was enrolled into a private school, and I ended up getting kicked out, but just because after, like, I think I was there for a year, people were just hella mean. I was picked on a lot. I was called a faggot, gay. These dudes, the football players, tried to sodomize me in the bathroom once. And then, so after they tried to do that, the next day, I worked at Panera Bread, and we used to get these little scoring knives to make the lines on top of the bread at Panera. So I brought in my knife to school, and I told him the day before, I said, leave me alone. And this dude tried it again the next day. So I pulled out my knife and I tried to cut the nigga. And I told him I was going to gut him like a fish. No, I'm not suggesting that you bring knives to school, but I had already told the principal, I've already told the faculty, I've already told my parents, and no one was helping me. So I took my own life in my own hands, and I did what I had to do. Long story short, I was expelled. My parents didn't get their money back, and they lost like 30 grand, because it was like 30 grand a year to go to this private school. And after that, my mom just hated me. She used to tell me every day, I fucking hate you. She made me start paying rent, because at the time I had a part-time job at Panera Bread, and she said I can't live there for free, so I had to start paying rent. She wouldn't feed me, and if she did feed me, it was like bread and water. And I would call Child Protective Services, but then they would come to our house, and we literally lived in a small fucking mansion. So Child Protective Services was just like, oh, it's just a black adoptive kid making problems for his white family. I literally was told this by social workers after I called you and told you that my parents are beating me, they're not feeding me, they're locking me into closets, they're locking me into basements, and no one did anything. So what ended up happening is, one day, it was spring break, and my parents were trying to move actually from Ocala to Kissimmee, where they live now. And that was another move that I did not want to do. And I told them I honestly just wanted them to put me back in the system, but I didn't really understand what that meant. And, so I went on spring break with my friends, and I came back. And when I came back home, there was literally a note on the door that said, call the police, call your social worker. Well, I didn't have a social worker at the time. I had an adoption worker. Call your adoption worker and tell them that you ran away and that you don't want to come back home because we don't want you anymore. And I didn't do that. I didn't do that at all. Actually, what I did was I was homeless for a few days. I ended up living with one of my friends from work for like 2 or 3 months with her parents because she was like 17, 18. She was 17. She was my age. And I ended up, her parents knew me because they lived like 3 or 4 houses down from where my parents lived. So I was always going over there. Just like talking to her mom about like the horrible shit my mom would do. And then the days my mom wouldn't feed me and I didn't work, so I couldn't get free food from work, she would feed me and I would eat with their family. So like that really was like my second family. The Glazers, their name was Donna and David Glazer. They were my life send. They really were my life send. And I lived with them for a few months. I turned 16. I enrolled myself in my GED course. I got my GED when I was 16 and a half. After that, I was able to work full time. So while working full time, I had another coworker by the name of Ariel. She graciously co-signed on a lease for me, which was kind of illegal because she shouldn't have done it because I was still a minor, but she knew what I was going through. So she co-signed for me for my first apartment. So my first apartment where I had to pay my own bills, I was 17 years old, like just barely 17. And I'm paying rent. My rent was like $1,600. I had electricity like $200. I had a cell phone bill like $200. So I was working at Best Buy, Old Navy, and Panera Bread all at the same time and just working my little black ass off. I worked my little ass off to the bone. And oh, love you too. Sorry guys for listening to the podcast. I'm reading these comments and everyone's like, I fucking hate your adoptive parents. So yeah, I was working my little ass off and, that's where I met Christopher. So a year after I started college, so I got my GED, I worked hard for a year. So when I was 18, I enrolled in community college. I did community college for a year. Then I enrolled at UF. And I met Christopher, and Christopher was going through a hard time with his ex-boyfriend who he was still living with. And to be completely honest, I lived in a 2-bedroom condo that I really could not afford I could afford it, but like I was literally eating crackers and peanut butter and like sharing it with my fucking dog. Cause at the time I had a little mini schnauzer and I was so poor I couldn't buy toothpaste or dog food. So like we're just both sharing like saltine crackers and peanut butter and just like surviving. And, Christopher had a full-time job and I was like, hey bro, come help me out with these bills. You know, you can come live with me. And we met in December. He moved in the middle of January and like, that's a wrap. Like we've been together 7 years afterwards. So yeah, that's my life story kind of in a really, 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 really fast nutshell. Let's go through these comments that we have on Instagram Live, guys. Oh, let's see here. So we have a lot of people from Florida, and I actually have a friend on Instagram Live, Silver Fox. She's becoming oh my God, I had no idea you went through that therapy. Yes, reattachment therapy is extremely illegal and it's extremely dangerous for children. Someone lives 20 minutes away from Kissimmee, Florida, which is crazy. Silver Fox says she wants to become a social worker because kids have no support. And that's what's so crazy, guys. Kids do not have support. When you're a foster child, no one fucking believes you. No one believes you. They just think you're just being a bad child, or they think you're just doing it for attention, or they think you're just doing this and doing that. And it's really fucked up because, like, first of all, I didn't ask to be in this predicament. I didn't ask to be here. You know, it's not my fault that my birth parents can't fucked up. It's not my fault. So it's really shocking to me that no one fucking believes you. It really is shocking to me. And that's something that happens a lot. It happens a lot. I cannot tell you how many times it happens. And it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that it's something that fucking happens. And I don't understand why it happens. I couldn't tell you why it happens, but I can tell you it does happen. Let's see. Oh, la, 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 la. So the next question that I have for someone is, when did Chris and I get married? So Chris and I were domestically partnered when I was, 20, I believe. So 3 years after we started dating, we got domestically partnered. And then when I was 23, so 2 years later, was I 23 or 24? 23, because we've been married for 3 years. So yeah, when I was 23, we moved to Washington State and gay marriage was legal. Funny story, side note, So you guys know, like 3-4 years ago, gay marriage wasn't legal in the country. It was only legal in certain states. So we moved specifically to Seattle because it was legal in Washington to get married. As we're driving here from Florida in January, they made it legal countrywide. So I was like, well, fuck, we could have moved anywhere. We didn't have to move to this shithole. But no, it ended up being okay because at the end of the day, we're here. We're queer, and we're not going nowhere. But no, so I'm going to hop off of live really quick because I want to read something that someone gave to me yesterday. I'll be right back, guys, on live, so don't go anywhere. So I had someone send me a message yesterday, and it's one of my followers. I don't know if they're comfortable with me giving their name, but they know who they are. And they said, so... You are a gigantic inspiration for the LGBTQ people and teens. I'm 14 years old and I'm non-binary and I'm pansexual. I have helped so many people. You have helped so many people come out and so many teens too. You have made a great impact on not only my life, but thousands of people. I was so closeted for the longest time. Growing up, going to private Catholic school was hard on me. Girl, I understand. Trust me, it was hard on me too. I was so scared to come out because of how people would see me. I'm typing more than so when I first saw your videos on Watch Cut, you look so proud of being a black gay man and not feeling ashamed of it. Seeing you happy made me happy and wanted that same feeling. The next day I came out and I got so much support from my parents and from my friends. It's unbelievable. Never in my life I thought I could be so happy to be who I am. It's people like you who will change the world and make such a big impact on people's lives. I'm so grateful that I got to speak to you yesterday. Oh, I had her on my live. Thank you for helping me come out of the closet and being a proud teen that I am. You guys have no fucking idea how much that crushed my heart. You have no idea because I don't do this. Really, to be completely honest and to be completely fair, I didn't start doing this for nobody but myself. This was me, my YouTube videos, my YouTube channel, my podcast was an outlet for me to get my voice out because I felt like I wasn't being heard. So the fact that I have other people who are like, hey, you helped me get my voice and you helped me come out of the closet and you helped me figure out who I am. That was never my intention, but because it happened, I feel so blessed that the fact that did happen. It made me want to continue to do what I'm doing because I never knew me being black and gay and happy on YouTube would help some other teenager come out to their parents. That's so special. That's so amazing that I was able to help someone. And that's never my intention. It wasn't my intention, but the fact that it did, I love that it did. So let's see. I had one more question before I wrap up. I do have someone. Okay. What experience in your life that made you learn to grow the most? So, the experience in my life that made me grow and learn the most, it really had to be when I was homeless. I was homeless. I was 16 years old. I was homeless. I was eating Subway sandwiches and I was picking out the maggots out of the Subway sandwich just to make it a little bit more clean. And I promised myself right then and there that I would never be that broke again in my life. And I haven't. I've been close. In college, there were times I was close. But I hustled and I worked and I saw my future and I believed in myself. So really being homeless, once you're at rock bottom, you can go no lower. And yeah, I say that now, but I could have gone lower. I could have turned to drugs. I could have turned to the streets. I didn't, but for me, that was the lowest possible. I never lived on the street before. So to live on the street for a couple months was really eye-opening to me. And I promised myself that I would never, ever, ever in my life let myself. And And I hate to say that. I understand that some homeless people do have mental problems. Some homeless people do have drug problems. But in America, there are so many opportunities for you to go make money, for you to go. Bitch, I hop on YouTube and I make money just by recording myself. I go to the Goodwill and I buy used clothes and I sell them for more than I bought them for. It's called the hustle. Like, hustle your ass off. Rent out your house if you need to. Rent out everything that you need to. Like, go do Postmates. Whatever you need to do to keep yourself above water, you need to do it. And I think a lot of people end up homeless because they just don't have drive. And they're just too comfortable with being in the predicament that they are in now. I wasn't comfortable with being homeless. I would never be comfortable with being homeless. I've always wanted more for myself. And even today, I'm sitting in a nice 2-bedroom ass condo with a brand new Mercedes Benz in my garage, and I'm still not happy. Not the fact that I'm not happy. I'm proud of what I have, but I want more. I have drive to want more. I want to leave a destiny. I want to leave something to my family. I want to leave fucking generational wealth. When I die, I want to make sure that if I have kids or even my dogs, they don't have to worry about what I went through. I don't want my child at 16 to ever have to eat maggots. So I work my ass off. Before I have an interview, a quick interview that I'm going to be doing with Serene Desiree. She's actually an amazing spirit. She's a comedian here in Seattle. I actually have a podcast with her called FTW. I'm going to let her kind of explain what the podcast is, because she's the head of, she wears the pants on that podcast. And I love her for it because I already do too much, but I definitely love being a part of it. So she's going to come in about 2 to 3 minutes. I'm going to let you guys listen to my brother's new single. It's called The Detroit Jungle. I love my brother, Untamed. He actually raps about our childhood and our life in foster care. So I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get it.
You know, look, where we at? Lions, tigers, bears, oh my. Lions, tigers, bears, oh my. Lions, tigers, bears, oh my. Lions, tigers. Look, Detroit that jungle, Detroit that jungle, Detroit that jungle, Detroit that jungle. With them lions, tigers, bears, oh my. Lions, tigers, bears, oh my. Detroit that jungle,
Hello.
Detroit that jungle, Detroit that jungle.
How are ya? I can see you live. Nice.
Tigers, bears, oh my. Lions, tigers, bears, oh my. Look, only road I'm on is the road to riches.
All good.
Try to tell these niggas, but they ain't wanna listen. Never do it like me.
Are you just gonna do the interview live on Instagram?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Awesome.
My niggas were ready. You don't really wanna roll. Fuck nigga, better stop it. My niggas got toxic. Pull up like what's poppin'. Pop, now they drop it. Tryna stack my bands. Tell me what it's gonna take me. Way out of they league. Ballin' on like Brady.
Hey, how are ya?
Out here. Niggas always so shady. They lost my mind somewhere. Already went crazy. Fuck you, nigga, pay me. Fuck you, nigga, pay me. Had to say that shit twice. Don't second thought that pay me. Nigga, don't get too close. I don't really trust myself. Big smoke over here, nigga. But it's only bad for your health.
Great. I want to ask you some questions about your childhood if that's cool while we're here.
I'm the Detroit Young Gretzky. Money stay on my mental. Highway, that's a rental. Flip that, then I went to Jewel for a new dental. Came a long way, yeah, I did. Shit ain't never been simple. So if a nigga try to take mine, I'ma pop head like a pimple. High head, yeah, I kindle. Flow cold, what I meant though. They say they got their eyes on the city. Well, I'm the one they need to look for. Detroit, that jungle. Detroit, that jungle.
So the live stuff records, and you can like watch it later.
Lions,
Yeah.
tigers, bears, oh my. Lions, tigers, bears, oh my. Detroit, that jungle. Detroit, that jungle. Detroit, that jungle. Detroit, that jungle. Lions, tigers, bears, oh my. Lions, tigers, bears, oh my.
All right, guys, that was Untamed, the rapper, who's my brother. He's fucking amazing. You can get his single on Spotify. That one's called Detroit Jungle, and I fucking love it. So joining me now, we have Miss Serene Desiree from the FTW Podcast with Serene Desiree and Karlos Dillard, myself. How are you doing, Serene?
I'm doing great. How are you, Karlos?
I'm doing good. I'm just trying to chill in the house because, tomorrow I'm going to have a big day, and it's my birthday, and I have a lot of shit going on. So I'm just, trying to make sure I have energy to do everything tomorrow. So I decided just to do the podcast today and kind of chill in the house and just kind of take it easy today. How's your day going?
Good, good. I'm just chilling hard. I'm just getting ready for this interview tomorrow. What's up?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So tomorrow Carlos won't be on the podcast, but I am doing an interview with a philosopher called Wes Cecil. He's a he's a brilliant man. Some of his videos, I mean, how brilliant do you have to be to have a philosophy video on like Aristotle that has 100,000 views on it? Like, who the fuck wants to learn about Aristotle?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay. I was on my live and they're like, I can't hear her. I'm like, well, you're going to have to go, because they can't hear you because you're in my headphones. But I was telling them, you can't hear her because you're going to have to go and listen to the podcast after I post it. But, continue.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So they can only hear half the conversation.
They
All
could,
right.
they could only hear half. And the reason I can't unplug my headphones is because then it gives good feedback and then it just makes the audio sound horrible. So that gives you an initiative to go and listen to the podcast so you can listen to her half of the conversation.
All right. I gotta ask, so I saw a video of your brothers the other day that you posted. They were so cute. Your three
Oh,
brothers?
yes. Well,
Why
they're so
why
cute.
is one of them called Carlos?
Okay.
Why are there two Carloses?
Because the black family is fucked up.
Did they forget that you were called Carlos?
Well, no. What ended up happening was, so my little brothers are what, 9, 7, and 6. And hey, give me 1 second. Well, give me 1 second. Sorry, I just had to yell at my dog. He's over here making too much fucking noise. My little brothers were born way after me. And my dad, the last time my dad saw me, I was 8 years old. And he hadn't had any contact with me from 8, for 10 to 15 years. So he just thought that, he would never see me again. So he decided to name his
Like,
last...
I'm not gonna waste this name. It's a perfectly good name.
Well, you know what the gag is? I'm a junior. So I took my father's name, my father's senior. So right now there are 2 Carlos Ramirez Hearst Juniors. And when I re-met my dad at my mom's funeral, I was like, so is he the third or is he a junior or how does that work? He's like, oh, no, he's junior on his birth certificate. I'm like, you can't give the person the same name. That's kind of fucked up. But yeah,
Well, yours is spelt with a K though.
No, when I originally I changed it for modeling. I changed my name when I got married. I changed it for modeling, and then I also changed it because Christopher and I's monograms. When we got married, we wanted our monograms to match. So I was like,
Aw.
I'll just change my name with a K. So I changed it with a K. But when I was born, I was with a C because it's my dad's name and he's Latino. And he just gave my name to somebody else, like my little brother, but he's so cute. So you can't blame him. He's so adorable.
He is. Oh my God, he's so adorable. So I guess we'll talk about the podcast
Yeah, so
a little bit.
tell us, okay, so everyone on Savage Media Radio, you guys know that we're raunchy. It's Real Shit Fridays. I'm real ratchet. But it's this FTW podcast, it's 100% different than any other thing that you got. I actually sound smart, guys.
I mean, it's not 100% not ratchet. We keep a little bit of that raunchiness in there, I think. At least I want to. I feel like I want to market us as dirty intellectuals, you know?
Dirty intellectuals. I like that. I'm a dirty intellectual.
So our last interview that I haven't posted yet, I'll post it on Wednesday, was maybe my favorite interview yet. That was with a schizophrenia expert called Joseph Palameni, and he thinks that there is a link between schizophrenia and shamanism. So shamans are like witch doctors or medicine men. They're found in all different forms across the world, and almost every tribal society seems to have them. So it seems like every human society has had them.
Mm-hmm.
And we have all these schizophrenic people nowadays, and they're quite common. It's 0.6% of the population, and we think that it's a mental illness. That's how we see it nowadays. But back then, they used to see it as someone who was magical and someone who was getting the voice from the gods channeling through them, maybe. So we think that there's maybe an evolutionary reason why people have these mental illnesses. So
that was a really good conversation too. I actually enjoyed that conversation with him last week. That was really, really good and like very enlightening and I just love like how I'm so ghetto and ratchet and like I'm talking to these fucking professors. And I'm just like, hey, I think that's the same thing. They're like, actually, you're kind of right, you know?
Oh my God, yeah. And they're cool people too. Like all these professors, man, they just sit in their libraries most of the time reading books and nobody ever talks to them. And then you just email them and you're like, hey, can we interview you? And they're like, other people want to talk to me? Like other people, the outside world cares about my work. It's great. And they're just geniuses.
So
Fantastic.
where can our followers from Savage Media Radio, if they want a little bit more podcasting in their life, where can they find you?
So they can find us on iTunes. You can search FTW-podcast. And then on YouTube, you can go, the best one is probably FTW Podcast, Karlos Dillard, Serene Desiree. You know, Karlos, I'm thinking of changing the name, though.
I was going to ask you that. Are you sticking with FTW, or what are you thinking of changing it to?
I want to change it to FTW, and it's going to stand for Fix the World. I think that might be the best thing to do.
I think that was our original idea when we started it, but then I was just like, oh, we should do like Fix the World, fuck the women, whatever it is, but it's not really changing it because you could still use the FTW and then really just use like Fix the World. Like you could still use the FTW podcast, but then it could just be abbreviation for that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And we kept changing. So we were doing this thing where we were going FTW, and then each episode the FTW would stand for a different thing. And first of all, it's a little difficult because it's hard to find an appropriate title for every episode, but also I think titles are really important for marketing. And so I want to maybe expand a little bit so I can put like just blatantly clickbaity titles in, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. I agree with that. I know that was our original idea. So yeah, like I said, you are the captain of that ship. I'm your co-captain. Aye, Captain. I'm here, whatever you say. I'm here. I'm queer, and I'm not going nowhere.
Let's go get that booty.
Let's go get that booty. Before we wrap up, because I do like, unlike our podcast, FTW, it could run like an hour and a half and an hour 45 minutes.
Yeah.
We like to keep Real Shit Friday under an hour, like between 45 minutes and an hour. So, was there any other questions you wanted to ask me, or any other shout outs you want to give yourself, Serene, before I let you go?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, you guys can find Serene Desiree, like she said. You can find her on, what's your Instagram name?
Oh, it's Serene Desiree. So SereneDesiree. And I post daily. So come follow me.
Go and follow her. And if you love me, you will go and listen to our podcast. There's a YouTube for the FTW podcast. There's an iTunes. Like Serene says, I won't be there tomorrow because, of course, it's my 26th birthday, so I'll be going out and doing birthday shit. But the following Sunday, I will be there, and we have a couple podcasts that are already there. So we have like 3 or 4 that are already posted. You can go catch yourself up. And thank you so much, Serene, for coming on today and just kind of giving a shout out for the show.
Yeah, thank you. So can I just give a little recommendation of what episodes to watch before?
Yeah, go right ahead.
All right, cool. So episode 3 is a mushroom expert called Peter McCoy, probably the leading mushroom expert. Episode 4 and 5 it's a heroic hearts project, so they give ayahuasca to veterans, psychedelic treatment for PTSD. And then episode 6 is with a cannabis expert called Amber Wise. So we have a huge variety of stuff. Check it out.
Huge variety. We have had one black host or guest, but have we posted that one yet with
no, we haven't. Not with Vanessa.
So we do have black people, guys. Because someone in my life was like, those sound like white names. They are.
We actually have. I've actually contacted a few history professors of African American history, but they didn't get back to me. But I do want to have more black people on. So let's try to.
If you're out there and you are a professional, hit us up because we definitely want you on the show. But all right, Serene, I will talk to you this week, and thank you so much, love. I love you. Okay.
Have a good one. I love you too. See you soon.
Bye. So, guys, that was Serene Desiree. She's fucking amazing. And I'm going to end this episode of Real Shit Fridays with just, like, I know you guys want to know a lot more about me, but like I said, I'm going to sell that book. So I don't talk a lot about my marriage that much, and I don't talk a lot about my childhood, and I do that specifically because those are the things that are in my book. The book is called The White Picket Fence. It'll be available for you to purchase on Amazon in September. This week, make sure that you guys check out, I believe Troy's having his show this evening, Free Yourself with Troy Weeks Musics. And also make sure that you check out our newest show. What's Doug's show? Oh my gosh, I've been on that show a couple times. I'm making myself Worst of the Worst Podcast. Sorry, I had a brain fart. Worst of the Worst Podcast. It's where he talks about the worst movies, and it's actually really funny. I've been on it a couple times. Super fucking hilarious. And I want you guys to leave us a review. Leave me a review. Listen to this. Like, send some comments on if you like this, because I did this by myself. I'm kind of super proud of myself. I had no production helping me. Coco didn't help me. I did this all by myself, and I'm kind of proud of myself because whenever I accomplish something that I didn't think I could do, I get so happy, and I'm hoping that this all recorded correctly. But until next time, guys, just keep being yourself and keep living your life. And I will see you next time. Go.